You are all weirdos.
Weird science
is the revolution.
Weird science
is the revolution.
Weird science
is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spy Family Manga Reading Club, the newest of the reading clubs here at the Weird Science Family of Manga podcast. I'm here with my man, Luke Hollywood. What up, Luke?
What up, Jim?
What up? And this was one of those things that when we started up the reading clubs, we wanted to have a mix of newer and classic things.
Classics.
This was kind of like the one that just got the axe, even though me and you really do like it. I think maybe because of it being something that we had talked about so much in our weekly review show that it kind of felt like we had already been talking about it. But once we ended up doing the reading clubs and then they have the anime come out, we're like, yeah, maybe that would have been one of those that would have been pretty good. But we both love this book so much that eventually we were going to get to it. I ended up deciding that we would. And then you said that you'd do it with me. So I didn't even really have to ask. You said that you would do it. So we're here. And in this is our first one that we're really doing kind of quote unquote live.
Fresh.
The other two were older things that we did over a year and a half ago. So This is fresh. This is us doing it now. So we won't in this say, man, they should have an anime for this. It'd be a banger. Like we're aware of things now. And it's funny because when I went and edited the other ones, they were also very long podcasts, very long. And it was weird because it didn't feel like it was like that was young Jim and Luke talking. Like they didn't know how to do things back then.
Bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
We had a bunch of things. And one thing that comes up really quickly in this chapter 3 is something that I had so much of a problem with in that second chapter that we'll discuss when we get to it. But I should say, first go over to Twitter at Weird Manga. Follow us, we'll follow you back. And then go to our Patreon, patreon.com/WeirdScienceManga to get early access to our Manga Monday shows, up to 8 of those. And also these reading clubs where at this moment, until Luke goes on a 3-year vacation or hiatus, we will be a little bit ahead on this one. So if you want a little early access of the Spy Family, we'll be there for you. Check out the show notes, and it's all the links and everything for all of our reading clubs and podcasts. But Luke, let's kick it off. What are we talking about?
Well, this week we have on the Spy X Families, Mission 3. Oh.
Yes, Mission 3. So you end up where the family is kind of together. You end up having Yor and Lloyd / Twilight and Anya. And Anya, just the gem of all gems. She always will be.
City.
She's so great. And as this is going on, you're really going to go heavy with the tropes and the fun of the Anya reading minds and getting scared constantly. Eventually, this will calm down a bit. But when you first jump into this, it's so much fun.
Because this is the big selling point. Because we're still like, this is the first time we've had the spy, the assassin, and the telepath all together.
And so when you have this, and it's such a crazy deal where you end up having a family that is kind of made up. It's a joke. They're forming a fake family to fool a school. In the meantime, the family itself is trying to fool each other. And then Anya, who's not trying to fool anybody, but she has a power they don't know about.
But the love is real.
It's almost like that crazy thing of like, how did they come up with the layers that this is? Because they wrap around each other so well and have so many crazy things. The danger of it, and we thought of this at the beginning, and we've even talked about it, like I said, when we were talking about it on the reg on our weekly show, was the idea of like, when do you get, Twilight to figure out? Like, when do you make that move? Because at some point, you can't play that he's that dumb. I mean, there are points in this where you think he has to know by now, but
the status quo is so good, you don't want it to change.
It's such a fun deal. That's what I'm saying. And that's the danger of, I don't know if that changes it. Like, is that the jump the shark moment when you end up? Now, I think that the better play, if Yor finds out, I don't think it's as bad as if Twilight finds out. Because Twilight, he's just out of his element and he's trying to do all these things. We talked about it in the last chapter with the idea that he's going at it as a spy thing. This is a job. This is where A plus B equals C. Everything has to fit. And he's one of those guys, and it kind of plays into here right away because he's going to do test questions for Anya and Yor of what they would be asked for at the academy. And I think that what the problem is, and it happens all the time, where you get somebody who's in sports and they're like the greatest of all time. Wayne Gretzky, he's the greatest of all time. I mean, the guy's nickname is the Great One. He is.
Whoa.
There's no disputing it.
The GOAT.
Not a great coach. You know why?
Uh-oh.
Because he assumes that everybody sees things as he does and everybody's as good as what he was.
Not on the same
you
level.
can't do that. So this is how you end up having Lloyd go into this of just pretty much thinks that this is easy.
He's playing 4D chess and everybody else played checkers.
And he thinks that the 4D chess is what everybody plays and it's easy. So when he asks this little girl, Anya, who, remember, he also thinks is a little smarter than she is. She's more street smart with a little, reading minds business in, which is going to save her butt a lot of times. But yeah, and also remember too, and again, this is going to be the trouble of us jumping into this now, but the idea that Anya desperately needs this family to stay together.
This is her ticket out of there.
Yeah, and really gets dark at points to figure out what ended up where she got this place. But you end up where, Anya, what do you do in school? Papa leaves me at home and I'm real sad and I watch TV. It's like, nope, that's not going to work.
Wrong answer.
And I like it's just like, nope, not a good first impression. Hey, Mrs. Forger. And, that's hey, please describe your parenting style. She doesn't know, so she's going to do her version of what Twilight's doing. Strike first, strike hard, no mercy. Some people would think that's okay, right? Nope, that's not good. And like, how did she raise that brother to be a respectable guy? So it's pretty much, he gives up right away. He goes, nope, this is going to work. So they end up, he decides in this, again, still treating it like a mission. He says, let's go out and walk around and, get some memories. This will be something.
Experience.
Yeah, you need these experiences. So if something is asked, hey, what do your family do? It'll be able to be something that actually happened. And he'll be able to make what happens happen, right? He's in control. He's going to take them certain places. And you do see right away where, family outing and you get, Gem on you. Family ooting. Yeah, family ooting. And she's always doing stuff like this where he's even like, she's kind of dim. I like when he looks at her like that. But they end up where Yor is actually, very nice, even if she is an assassin. And she's very nice to Anya as they go. But again, at least she has her brother. It's a crazy relationship. But she does have somebody who she counts on, has experience with doing this. Twilight has none. I mean, he is cold as ice, though.
And even just by doing it by the book, that just goes to show he's thinking like, oh, we need to get the culture. So he brings them to all the culture places. He doesn't know what really makes the family tick.
No, he doesn't. And he also doesn't understand what maybe kids like because he had to grow up too soon.
Ooh,
oh, my goodness.
He didn't get to childhood.
And so what you get with the fun of this is when Yor holds Anya's hand like, oh, her hands are so tiny. They're so cute. This reminds me of me and my brother walking around. Oh, man, I better not squeeze hard because I remember that time I broke 2 of his ribs by hugging him. And she's like, oh, my God, and runs away just as Twilight's like, oh, man, this is going pretty good. Uh-oh, she's running away. Because she is so emotional. She reacts so great. But this is, again, he's going to culture them up. Let's go to the opera. They go to the opera. Yor is confused. She has no idea. And again, here's the thing, too. We were talking in episode 2, and I think I did end up editing the one part out, but you would end up mentioning that you thought that they should even have a live action movie or TV show with Spy Family. And I'm going to give you the perfect deal of who should be cast as Yor at the end of this podcast. Whoa. You'll see. But with that, Anya ends up falling asleep. Classic. And Twilight's like, yep, that didn't work. And they move on to the next deal. They go to the art museum, and there is class. So good. Anya's yelling because, of course, there's going to be, paintings of naked ladies.
Oh, my goodness.
Papa, boobies. I can see her boobies. He's like, yep, this isn't working out. And then you also see that Yor is just obsessed with looking at a painting of a guillotine and a guy getting his head chopped off.
Like, this is a side of Yor that it gets a bit sus. Like, is she the guillotine and then a little bit later with like the knives?
Isn't it funny?
I don't know.
Because again, me and you are actually one of the few ones of these that I'm also pretty current like you. You're current in a lot of things. So when you go, and I think of the things we had talked about on our weekly show and the review show when we do it, This Yor is so over the top, just really dark. And they kind of will give you the little tip. Kind of get away from that a bit. She's able to hide it a little better later. At this point, she is full out just assassin.
She's unhinged. She is always on the brain.
She is looking at this guillotine. Now, she's an assassin. I can't say that a guillotine is the greatest assassin weapon.
Not very stealthy.
It looks like she's like, oh my God, if I can only own one of these things.
It's like, don't blush, Yor.
Oh my God, it is. She wants that guillotine.
What
and
the
you
heck?
end up where it's going, Yor? He's just staring. And they go away. So then the next thing, I mean, if that wasn't boring enough, especially for Anya, they go to this political,
rally?
I don't know, town hall center, this rally. And everybody, the thing here is that everybody's thinking crazy thoughts. Everybody's getting aggressive, thinking things, and it really throws Anya off. She can read all their minds. It seems to be really taking her, and even the stuff out loud, but it's really getting to her. And she does not like it. She doesn't like the place, but it's all about patriotism and all that stuff. But they end up leaving there. It's supposed to be all these things that Twilight's trying to do. And they're just not working. They're not working, even though they are. It's the weird play. And that's what this book does pretty well. And they go off to eat. And this is where you see. And again, it's funny because Yor is just as bad as Anya at this point, like we said. And a butter knife. She's like checking, I guess in my mind, what this is that she has her things there. There might be an assassination coming up. Like somebody might
ready
attack.
for any chances.
So she picks up how sharp is this? So if I have to kill somebody in a little bit, I can use it. She's checking that out.
Always needs a weapon.
Anya is just picking up. She loves the peanuts. We found that out earlier. And she's just picking the nuts off of this fancy dinner, making a mess all over. And you end up, Twilight, you have to eat the whole thing. Don't just pick off the nuts and use a fork. I think she's eating everything with her hands there. And then he says, like, I have done so many missions in my 10 odd years as a spy. I have done countless of crazy missions. I don't know what's going on here. He says, I feel so hopeless. Boom. We remember now that Anya can read his mind. And she is reading their minds right now. I want to know what Yor was thinking with that knife. But she's there and she's such a nice little girl. Like she really does care. Even if it is, I can't let this thing not work. But in her mind, you always have to remember she is just a tiny little girl. So a lot of times she's just being nice. And when you end up, the first time I feel truly hopeless, and she goes, don't worry about it, Papa. And he's like, what? Like out of nowhere, she says it, but he'll never figure it out. And then he thinks about it. And he has been doing this for the couple chapters that I chose the wrong people. He's always going with that idea. We can change this up. Maybe we can do this different. We'll change this. But this whole deal is he can't figure out how to do this. He's upset. He thinks that this is going to be an epic fail. And you end up saying, maybe we should get some fresh air. So they do go out and, they're looking at the city. This is a garden type thing that Yor goes to clear her mind. I get the idea she likes the vantage point to get her assassinations, but it's also where she likes to clear her mind. And they're there. They're talking about it. They're talking about the deal. And Anya looks down at the people and goes, they look like trash. Makes me laugh. I'm like, what are you talking about? And and this is like, hey, I like this place. No crowds, Anya says. And that's like, again, the layers of that, it kind of makes you sad because she can't turn off a lot of times what she hears and the thoughts. So
like
she's in a crowd, it would drive her insane. And we saw that. We saw that at that rally. So she likes it, no crowds. And I thought that was a sweet little moment with that. And it goes from like, okay, there's Lloyd, though, who is just looking like he looks at these kids where they're playing.
I wish I could have been a kid.
I wonder if they're going to be in an explosion. Like, look at them laughing it up. They didn't have their friends blow up.
Chuckles.
Or he's just like, I don't like the looks of that cat. Like he's always,
that cat looks a bit sus.
Look at that cat. I don't know. I think that the kid telling the story, who does look like a little version of Twilight, I think right there he's telling some sus story with saying something's big, but he's there. And then he's like, huh. And he sees where a guy steals an old lady's purse. Also seems to like knock a bread out of her thing or whatever. I don't know what she has.
He adds insult to injury. He does.
you could convince me that that's not like a cart, that's actually like a mop bucket. She's just going around with it. It looks weird. But yeah, this lady's like, oh my God, he took my purse. Somebody help. Nobody's helping. You know, you don't have Midoriya there to jump into the fray, right?
No heroes here.
No, you have Yor, who at this point, again, the play here is that Yor is trying to make it so that, you know, hey, I don't want him to know that I'm this, even though the last chapter, she ended up going to town at points too, but running down a wall, this is a little over the top of like
vertical
hey,
incline.
yeah, we got to talk a little bit about what exactly you do and what you are. But she goes down and doesn't get the guy. The guy goes and disappears.
After all that?
Yeah, I know. Look at her going down. And then you end up where it's like that game Prototype. You end up where she goes over, oh, I'm sorry. And the lady's real nice. Oh, you tried. Thank you. Oh, my God. And then she's like, looks up and like, oh, I left Lloyd and Anya behind. Yeah, up there, 5 stories up.
Whoops.
And you end up having Lloyd with Anya thinking, okay, what's going on? And this is the cool play of this chapter is they actually team up to take down this guy without ever really knowing they know they're teaming up, but they don't know the other person is what they are. And he uses his skills of checking out the scene, noticing, and a guy who's a master of disguise would know how to look for somebody in disguise and sees this guy and knows from that little bit that he saw how the guy walks and sees it. The funny thing, though, is to get to that point, the other part of the team up is Anya, who is now scanning the crowd like a Professor X.
Whoa.
And finally ends up hearing the guy and sees where the thing is. The guy, man, that old lady was loaded. So she comes up with a story. Hey, Papa, can you buy me a cake? Points at the cake place where the guy's right there. He looks over and says, well, we just ate what? Oh, there he is. So they all work together. But in the play of what you really get throughout Anya is almost always the linchpin. Anya is so smart with stuff like this, right? She is. And at points, she even starts to want to get some praise and maybe even try, but nobody would ever know. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. But he ends up recognizing, okay, that's the guy. As Yor finally gets up the stairs, like, oh my God, hey, watch Anya. He leaps off of this. I mean, they are doing crazy things. And then how does this guy live? You tell me how this guy lives, because he ends up jumping off a bridge, and then lands on what this guy's trying to pull off, the smooth operator, by the way.
Whoa.
He ends up smashing his head into the concrete. And he's not great. He's not great at the trash talk, I'll tell you.
That ain't going to do much to help.
No. And I mean, open up scumbag, dinner is served. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that as trash talk. I would have played something along the lines of something with the old lady in there. Maybe. I don't know what it would be, but something like that. But he ends up dead. This guy, he has to be dead. And with that, you have Lloyd think, oh, crap. You know, and again, I think that he got inspired by Yor. He ends up wanting to do good.
Maybe by the wrong things, though.
Yeah, really. And even then, he even thinks to himself, like, he's starting to act different. He's not himself already. In 3 chapters, this family is getting to him because he says, oh, my God. A good spy never is noticed, doesn't do anything to put attention to him. He just jumped off a bridge and smashed the guy's head into the concrete. That is a lot of attention. He gets up. I like that he fixes his coat and then says, hey, everybody, yeah, this guy stole a purse. These people probably think that he just attacked them. But he says, yeah, it stole a purse. The lady, you know, hey, somebody call the police. I got to get going.
And an ambulance.
Yeah, really. An ambulance. Call a hearse. I mean, seriously, this guy's dead. Where's the Paul? Oh, my Undertaker. You end up where they go, and he goes back, and they end up where it looks like the old lady. I don't know. They're at the hospital. All these things going down. The old lady ends up saying, I was going to give that money to my grandson. That was kind of like, okay, I don't need your life story, lady. We just got your money back. But with that, you end up where it seems as if for the first time, maybe, that Twilight, Lloyd, he liked doing something that, and again, just think of this. Twilight, he's all about him. He's a spy.
Always the mission.
He follows the rules. It's the mission. He does not do things. He would be on a mission and he'd see this happen on the side. He's not going to stop the mission to save a old lady's purse. That's not his concern. Normally, that'd be him. Nope, not in the mission. Don't do that. That's when you do those things, he thinks that's when you get hurt. That's when you get caught. That's when everything goes down. But he sits there and thinks maybe there is something to it. Like he feels good about this old lady. Like he keeps trying to say to her, it's nothing. It's nothing. Even points out that you were helped out as well, which was nice. But he doesn't want to accept like, oh, thank you. Yeah, whatever. But he ends up where he thinks that it's nice to get some gratitude now and again. And he ended up helping somebody. And there's Anya right there. Papa's a softie. Ooh. And that's kind of a play there because he just won't allow that. That's the layers of it. It's layers of a horrific childhood that got ripped from him and a job that he's great at, but never has allowed him. He is everybody but himself. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Look, I mean, just think of what he was doing in the first chapter where he was pretty much leading that girl on. That she was going to get married and all that, only to boom, mission over. I don't need you. Drop that. Did not care. He had a heart of stone. His heart grew 3 times the size and it's still like a little pea. Anya's getting to him, all of them are, and even Yor. He seems more impressed with Yor, but I do think that he is taking to Anya, which you like to see. And yeah, he ends up where he even says, saying, hey, Yor, today put the wind back in my sails. Now I know what you mean by let's get back to work feeling, because she even said, she goes to that park when she feels down, her energy's gone. But hey, there's a job to do, so let me get my batteries reset. Let's get back to work. And he says, I understand that. Anya's just there. Papa and Mama are going to kiss. Ooh. When I first read this, I remember back, I actually thought that this is where she actually heard their thoughts and they both thought, boy, I'd like to kiss them right now. And I think I always played that was why. Oh my God, they're going to kiss her. What? That's not true. They get all upset. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, you end up where all that thanks, that's where Anya, why didn't anybody thank me? And here's where Twilight goes with that. Oh, yeah, we should have thanked you because your stomach being hungry. And she's like, that's not what I mean. But that's what she wants.
She should have still got that slice of cake.
Yeah. No, it would have been funny. Get the slice of cake. And she's like, I don't want cake. I'm stuffed. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, you end up where there's the family. There it is. What a wonderful family you are.
Aww.
And it's really nice. That's the old lady again saying this and gives Anya some candy.
Gem.
And it's cool. And then there you go.
Don't take candy from strangers.
Yeah,
Anya.
really. I told you before, we had neighbors, these old couple, nicest people probably. I don't know. I was a little kid. I thought that the lady might have been a witch. I don't know. I had really crazy imagination. And they used to make Rice Krispie treats for us. And they would give them to me and my brother. And they'd come up with a tray. I'd throw them away. I'd immediately throw them away. My brother would get all upset and start crying. I'm telling you, I was like 5 and he was 3. And I'd throw him away. And then like Anya, I really thought that he should be thanking me because I knew that old couple were trying to poison us, is what I thought. And never really realized that they were giving the treats to everybody in the building and everybody else was enjoying them, but I threw them away. I would not eat. Because again, I'm like a weird combination of I'm like Lloyd as well. If I'm told not to eat anything from a stranger, also I heard back in the day of people poisoning, candy, putting razor blades in apples. Well, I went with everybody did that then. So yeah, people. I love Rice Krispie treats too. So it kills me to think that I wasted that many. And they used to make them like once a week. And I would go in. This is how crazy I'd go. I'd dump them out and they'd be on a tray. This is like they made them.
Oh my goodness.
They didn't have them that you can buy them. And you couldn't buy your store-bought Rice Krispie treats back then. And so I'd have to wait though, because I'd have to return the tray. But I'd have to wait to think in my mind what the timing would be for us to eat those.
How long does a person take to eat a Rice Krispie treat?
And these were like a big tray of them, though. So I thought if I messed up, then they'd realize and they might up their game and just come in and slice my throat. So I had to, this was the things that I went through with having a father that would not talk to me about anything. If I went to my dad and I said, hey, you think they're he wouldn't even address
How
it.
sus are these Rice Krispies?
And then also a mother who was dumb as a box of rocks. If I said to her, hey, these Rice Krispie treats, it would take me like 3 days. This is a lady who she ended up babysitting kids. And at one point, the kid wanted breakfast before school, and he brought oatmeal. And what she thought it was like cereal, and poured the oatmeal in a bowl and then poured milk on it and made him eat it. She didn't cook it. It was just there, just oats.
Jeez.
What is he, a horse? It was the worst. And the kid ate it. I remember this kid's name was Bobby. He's just like, and he couldn't chew it. He's like, and my mom was screaming, you better you're going to miss the bus. She babysat like
Bobby.
12 kids. We were like a freaking gang, a gang of crazed little kids. And I was going to say led by me, but I was too scared. I was afraid of everything, including those neighbors. So this lady, I wouldn't eat that candy. No way.
No way.
You then end up going and, you have some family. Mama, I want hot chocolate. I'll make you some. And it's nice.
It's family shenanigans.
The family is coming together in a way that it's funny because Lloyd does not realize this. He does not realize how this is coming to be.
Bonding.
And so you end up with, okay, we're going to do this. Let's get to these questions again. Hey, what do you do on your days off with your family? I go to the opera and art museums and eat at restaurants. Bingo. It worked. Right? And says exactly good. Whatever they ask, just remember what we did today. And then you go with the okay, well, what happened and what do you do if something bad happens? And then Anya takes it too far, as she does. She looks up and he said, think about what happened today. And he says, next question, if you saw a friend do something bad, how would you react? She yells, I'd jump him and make him eat pavement. And I love that it's not just like, I'll beat him up. Make him eat pavement, because that's what he said. He ended up saying, open up, scumbag, time for dinner. And so, yeah, it works. And he's like, yeah, let's forget that. And they're kind of like, oh, my God. And he says, this is hopeless. Oh, my God. And then Anya's like, you were so cool. That was awesome. And then you have her kicking. She has the expressions and the meme faces have not started quite yet. But what you have are her motions and movements when she's doing the karate kick here and going smash. It's so cute. It is so cute. But he realizes, yes, we made 1% of progress, but they kind of are becoming a family in a weird way. It's very odd. It's not odd. It's very nice. It's very wholesome in this deal. And that's the charm. The charm starts off full out Anya, but the charm also is this family coming together and watching Lloyd even change. I mean, we'll get to a part where we'll again get so mad because we want to have Lloyd fashion show on the boat. But even what we get there was good enough because he starts to let down his guard a little bit, even though he knows that is very dangerous for him. But with that, we'll have a bunch of things going on in characters. So this was a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be, but it's not an hour, so we're cutting down. But these chapters are usually about 25 to 27 pages. At one point, you ended up going bi-weekly, stuff like that as well. Weekly. So we will be continuing with it. What would you give this chapter?
Well, I thought this was a banger, Jim, as they all are in Spy Family. Oh my goodness. But this was the first time we've had the family all together proper and all together family shenanigans here. It got a little goofy. I mean, Twilight should have seen some of this coming, baby. But it's just nice to see them all playing off each other. You really do get some of the, considering we've been reading some of the later chapters, you see some of the early stuff with Yor. She goes really hardcore into that assassin business. But it's just, getting the kinks out and getting them all connecting with each other. And it's really nice to see them, even right at the end, having Yor and Anya bonding over the hot cocoa.
Yeah, they have the hot cocoa.
That's very nice. It's very wholesome. So really, this is this is the core of the book. I mean, this is Anya and the family shenanigans. This is what it's all about. So to see this at its roots here, I think is very strong. So I'm going to go high. I'm going to go 8.8.
I'm going 8.5. And I agree fully with you. The idea of this, and it's kind of a cool way that you had it set up. You end up having pretty much the first chapter as Twilight and Anya. Then you get Yor, and now we get them all together, and off they go. And now this is when a lot of the fun really does start, where you end up getting more and more of the characters. You get more of Anya. When Anya goes to school, and she's trying to get into the academy, but even though you would guess that she would, I hope that didn't spoil it for everybody. But then you open it up with her friends and enemies. And even then, it just ends up being that deal that you see this family, and it's the family dynamic. And that's where we talk about versus Western comics and manga, and we say we're in for the characters even more than the story at points. This really is 100%. It's like the poster child for that. We end up with three chapters even, because they're together now. The 3 chapters of really getting their personalities and their characters down to then go off and let's get the story going. And all that leads out of the characters.
This is the foundation.
And it's so cool because just the idea, and I think that we even mentioned it at points in the first 2 chapters about the Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but Anya's there to be that wild card that actually brings everything together in a way that's so cool. And she's so crazy. And then you even get things later that really play out, like her dog and things. It's so cool. It's so good. I mean, I could go on and just keep saying it's great. So I will shut up right now. But I say 8-5, and then you will be back next Monday. Well, this will come out every Monday. And if you wanted to get early access to it, because we are going to be a little ahead on this, you can go over to our Patreon, patreon.com/WeirdScienceManga, and get that plus 8 episodes of our Manga Monday in advance as well. We have right now coming up, and as you listen to this, we will already have on this actual day a hot off the presses. We have some new stuff coming out, and that's always exciting too. So we'll see how that is. Also go to Twitter @WeirdManga. And we'll get out of here because Luke Hollywood is about to fall asleep. It is very late in Lake Slip, Ireland. So with all of that, I'm going to bang you on the head.
Oh, no.
But thanks, everybody. And we'll talk to you later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science
It's the revolution.
Weird science
It's the revolution.
Weird science
It's the revolution.